A very good morning to you, Lagos. This is Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's a Monday morning, a holiday Monday morning, I might add. Everybody's still in that Ilea mood, as it were, at home, chilling and having a good time. But we are here in the studio doing what it is that we do best, bringing you the best of information, education, entertainment as well. This is the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. 33 minutes past 6 a.m. on Monday, 9th day of June, 2025. My name is Ayokunmi, and it is that time of the morning where we get to talk about everything that has to do with the world of business because this is a Business Express brought to you by InterSwitch. It's a great time to get into the groove and start your week on this note. I know your week starts tomorrow, but hey, I start your week for you today. And this is how we're getting into the groove of things. And we're going to be talking about something really interesting and maybe a little bit outside the box, but it's still part of your business itinerary. And that has to do with building and maintaining a reliable network. You can't do business or anything really in life without having or maintaining and building a network. And joining me to talk about this and give us a lot of insight into the matter in the next 15 minutes thereabouts is Aramide Abe. She is the convener of the Naija Startups Business Leader Network. Good morning to you, Aramide. Great to have you on a holiday Monday morning.
I know. Good morning. I bright and early. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And I will say thank you so much for doing this on a holiday morning. I know you'd rather probably be, in bed and chilling and relaxing and everything, but the show must go on, as they say. So
Indeed.
thank you once again.
No worries at all.
All right. So, for you listening to us right now, you can be a part of the show as always by sending your messages in on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. You can also jump on the live stream on YouTube. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. And right off the bat, Ramide, let me just say this that, when people say getting by in Nigeria is about who you know, can that be a reference to networking precisely?
Yes, and thanks for that question. It references networking, but it's not always the kind of networking that creates long-term value. And I was chatting with a coach the other day, leadership coach, and she was telling me, value has to be consistent in everything one does. So if you're just networking, aimlessly, then where are you creating value? In Nigeria, who you know is often shorthand for having access to opportunity,
Mm,
though through personal connections. But in reality, true networking is much more intentional. It's not about collecting favors, it's about cultivating relationships built
okay.
on mutual trust, value, collaboration, such that I may even be able to be the one to help you in the future, not necessarily me always getting. So the goal shouldn't be who knows you, but who respects you enough to put their name next to yours.
Okay. Okay. Very well put. Now, all that being said, and I know that you've done a lot, you've seen a lot from your view, from your experience as well. Do you think that Nigerian entrepreneurs are actually doing enough to build their networks?
Not quite.
Ah,
Many entrepreneurs network out of necessity, perhaps when they're trying to raise money or, publicize their business or build partnerships, look for that visibility. But real influence does come from consistent relationship building, so even when you don't need something, and a lot more can be done if we stop viewing networking as transactional. I keep referring to this because I just started this newsletter on beyond transactional networking. And so if we see
okay.
it as fundamental to business growth, then that's the way to do it. So your network shouldn't just show up when you're launching. It should be growing as you build as an entrepreneur.
Aha, so those things need to go hand in hand. It shouldn't be only a function of, okay, I need this thing right now. Let me begin to see who I can reach out to and connect with. But it should be a long-term game, the long game, as it were. Okay,
Absolutely.
Maggie. All right, all right. So now we've established that. How exactly does one go about building said network? Are there certain rules? Is it a one size fits all? How does one do it?
I think it's starting with why. You always have to start with that why. That might sound a bit cliche, but it's okay. So, why am I trying to build a network? And there's nothing wrong with building a network for different reasons. That could be the starting point. But then, of course, what you're looking to do is build it for more sustainability. So,
Okay.
ask yourself, why am I looking to network? And then, also, factor in value as well. So you want to
Mm,
lead with curiosity, not necessarily just a pitch. And then in terms of practical ways, attend industry events. I tend to always advise people. And it's not about going for everything. You have to also be strategic about it. So I was chatting with a lady who's trying to get into the power sector, and I know there's a forum coming up this weekend in Abuja. And I said, well, actually, there's quite a few people who, it may not even be a power forum, it's an investment forum, but there's people who are in your sector that you probably want to speak to who are panelists. Why not think about attending? Right. So it's really important to be strategic, identify where the kinds of people you want to build relationships with will gather, and then join business communities. I convene,
mm,
I'm a business leader network. It evolved from an entrepreneurship platform, and it's really now focused on business leaders. So people who have been in work or, entrepreneurship for maybe 15, 20 years on average, and are looking to just find
mm.
like-minded individuals to network with, peer mentorship, that sort of thing. So Naija Startups is one of such. And so I'll say yes, so build communities, and then even LinkedIn, right? So as much as it's online, you can network through LinkedIn, not necessarily just shooting blanks everywhere, but literally like engaging, having thoughtful conversations on certain topics that pertain to something that you're interested in. If you like
Okay.
geopolitics, for example, then share your comments, maybe on an insightful post or connect with the author, that sort of thing. So there's a few ways, but again, it's all about strategy and then value at the top of your mind.
Strategy and being extremely tactical. You didn't just shoot blanks, as it were. You have a plan and know exactly how to execute that. Yes, I had to use that particular term you used around me. It actually
Sorry.
it was it was right there. I had to
It
do
just
that.
came.
Okay. Now this question I want to ask you now. I would say it applies to me, which is weird because you would think that, okay, me being here speaking to millions of people, it should not affect me. But sometimes I get that way. Shyness. It happens to a lot of people. I mean, we have some people who are shy individuals. How exactly do you think, or should they get over said shyness and be able to reach out to other people when trying to build a network? The introverts, as it were. How do they go about this?
Yeah, and interesting that you say that. I had an article, my first article was about that. But I want to distinguish that shyness and introvertedness are two different things, right? You can be an
Hmm,
introvert but not necessarily shy. You're confident when, you're required to speak up in meetings or do certain things, but you're not necessarily the most outgoing of people. So shyness you may need to conquer through active, participation and just in being intentional. Also really getting down to the bottom of why am I shy? And I was that person before. So that's more of a self-development type confidence building agenda. But as an introvert versus an extrovert, I always say that an introvert does not necessarily need to change who they are to be a networker.
okay.
You can stick to who you are, but just be a bit more strategic and intentional. You're not going to be at every, event or spend 8 hours at maybe a conference. Be more tactical in the way you would engage. So yes, an introvert can network. It wouldn't be the same way, just see what works for you. You don't have to do everything, but have a target, have a goal, have an approach, and just find what works for you. Again, I keep saying start with your why, look to also add value and give. It's not necessarily always wanting to take, because again, you're building the long game, right? You're thinking long term. And in the
Exactly.
end, you may get value in another way or even from the same person. So those things are key. And then just identify the platforms that are comfortable for you. Or you can say maybe in once in 6 months, I'll go for a conference, even though it's not my thing, but I'll put that and say, okay, every quarter or every 6 months, I'll attend a mixer, not like someone who's going every weekend, maybe like
Right, right,
myself.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So those are the things I'll say.
Okay, so we've spoken about building a network. Now that is one thing. That is like half the battle. Maintaining said network is another thing entirely. So how is one who has worked hard to build a network? How is that person, an entrepreneur, whomever it is, supposed to maintain the network and keep things going?
I think it's more about being consistent over intense. So you want to always, factor in that repeated method or of whatever it is. For me, for example, I have certain mentors that I know that I need to check in with every 2 weeks. It's in my calendar. It's there, and that's my own system, right? So check in with this person, check in with that person. And it's not necessarily, oh, I'm here, anything for the boys type thing. It's more
Mhm.
just checking in on you. Is there anything I can support with, or just a hello, or remember birthdays. So again, it's intentionality. And then, like I said, being consistent. So not just, engage and then disappear for 2 years and then come back when you need something. That doesn't work.
Mm,
People are
yeah,
also intuitive, right? So it's all about just being consistent.
I
And
know, right?
then yeah, so it's really like a garden. It will flourish when you add the right, ingredients and the water, the light, all the things that you need to add to it. So I'll just say you need to cultivate that through consistency.
Right, right, right. Something you said just spoke to me as well. The fact that the little things matter. Just checking in to say hello, how are you doing? Hope all is well. Those little things, not necessarily the grand gestures as well. Which brings me to talking about Christmas hampers because they are very popular in Nigeria. I mean, that Christmas period, hampers are everywhere. Every Tom, Dick, and Labake are doing hampers and so on and so forth. Now, should every client and every business acquaintance get one from a business owner?
It reminded me of when my mom did hampers when I was young. So I'm not anti hampers. I'm really for. I mean, I'm someone who gives gifts anyway. So I would say that gift giving, if that is a culture that you want to cultivate, some industries don't actually permit that, right? But if gift
Uh-huh.
giving is something that you want to do, then do. It may not necessarily be a hamper, but just that thoughtfulness. And it's many ways, right? It could be writing off an expense for a partner or a client. It could be a gift. It could be
Okay.
helping them do something that they were really looking to get done and couldn't do it on their own. But yeah, so I would say thoughtfulness more than hampers. But of course, if hampers, and it's cultural as well. Nigeria is very much
Mm,
like that.
yes.
When some
Yes.
people don't get them, I wonder, what happened this year. Are we fighting? But I think generally it's all about, just being thoughtful and then identifying where in some, like I said, in some industries it's not permitted. So you also have to do your due diligence based on that
Right.
as well. Yeah.
Very, very important. And sometimes, like I said before, it doesn't really need to be a grand gesture, a thoughtful gesture, yes,
Yes.
not necessarily a grand gesture because it's the thought behind the gift most times. Okay, Aramin, it's been very interesting this morning. But before I let you go and have your holiday Monday, I just need to ask this. Talking about building a network, is there a certain time frame for it, or is it something that can start as early as university before getting into labor force, perhaps?
Absolutely. If I had to speak to my younger self, I'll say that. I think my younger self was really shy as well. And so where I had a lot of opportunities to, I probably didn't take advantage, but it's never too late.
Mm.
So as young as you're in as young as university, I was just speaking to a gentleman, a nephew of mine, who said
Are you there, Amide? Oh, goodness gracious. At the tail end of the conversation, network beginning to freeze up. I was really hoping I would be able to get Ramide's thoughts on that. Well, let me see if this will unfreeze before I have to call it tomorrow on the show. Oh, goodness gracious. When it got really, really interesting. But hey, um, I guess it's all good at the end of the day. It's been an interesting morning on Business Express. We've been talking about building and maintaining a reliable network. And I have been speaking with Aramide Abi. She is the convener of the Naija Startups Business Leader Network. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Rather unfortunate that we couldn't wrap up on the most perfect note, but it's absolutely fine. We've gotten a lot of value from her this morning, and I really do hope you have a great start and a great Monday as well. The smooth breakfast will definitely continue. There's a lot to come, more great music, and of course, 7:30 we'll take a look at the papers on Freshly Pressed.